welcome everyone to Of the Publishing Persuasion, a literary feast of a podcast that's here to just bring you a wealth of knowledge, an abundance of literary facts. That's all I've got. I am Angela Montoya. I'm lying. That's not what's happening. I'm Angela Montoya, author of Sinner's Isle and A Cruel Thirst, and I am here with Melanie Schubert, author of Severed Cape from the Castle of Horror Anthology, volume or chapter? Volume
Volume.
11? Volume 11, Revenge is what we are talking about. Melanie, how are you? You have debuted in you are in your anthology era. Like, how are you feeling?
I feel fucking great. I like it's
Yes.
I'm a little blown away by I know if you saw actually I know you saw that we hit like the number one
Yes.
Amazon bestseller for American horror like twice or three times already. Because it's always like reloading. Something else is competing with us, I guess. But the fact that we did. Because, I had no idea really what to expect going into this. Like, I had no
Yeah.
idea, like, really how big the pub house was or, like, what the reach was or, like, everything is new. This is all new information to me as it happens. But, like, honestly, the best thing so far, and it's so funny because I hear other authors say it all the time, but now that I'm experiencing it, I'm like, just like the people who are telling me that they've read it and how it's been received, like it is such a dark story. And especially because I chose to go with a really gory comic almost. It's so gory, like the penis cape of severed fingers and severed penises. Like I didn't think that the average well, I didn't want to assume, but I just felt like for some people they'd be like, oh, why did she, that's so gross, or like you shouldn't like damage people, like revenge is bad. But then that's the whole point of the anthology, I guess. It's like quite, I think it's going to be quite cathartic for some. Like I haven't read all the stories, but I know that the Aussie team came in hot with their stories, and yeah, it's just been like, yeah, like I've cried a couple times from people's comments, just like they just get it and they want it. They want to see that justice served, even if it's just in story format. And that's so what I hope to achieve with it without even realizing when I was writing it, like at the very start. So yeah, now I'm
Yes.
getting emotional. So I will I will stop. I'm still emotional from our chat with Arlene, which was just so beautiful and raw and real.
Yeah, no, she's a special soul. But yeah, I'm waiting, by the way. I'm still waiting for my copy of the
Yeah.
anthology to get, it was supposed to get here yesterday, I believe.
Bastard.
So I might go severed cape on whoever is no, I'm just kidding. But am I? I don't know because I want my damn book.
Well, you
Anyway,
you and me both. I'm still waiting for my copies, so like that's going to be a whole other wave of emotion. But it'll be another chance to post about it on the upside because I am having a lot of fun promoting it. And I just have to say once again, like you're real. I must have watched it about like the very first time I saw it, I was in such a heightened state. Sometimes you can't fully appreciate how good something is when you're in a heightened state. So I was like obviously watched it back a million times. And I'm actually just blown away by what you did with that. Like it's very cinematic. You're for somebody who always is so down on yourself for your reading voice, it's like goddamn child, can you like narrate my whole fucking story for me? Because there was like a tone that you read with that was so like it got me deep, Shrek. It got me deep in like the best ways. Sorry for
that's
being like an ADHD pop culture meme 24/7. No, I'm
that's
not
so
sorry.
funny though. I would have never like I totally did not mean to get into the zone, but I think your words, I was just trying to act out your words, and your words just do it. Your words just evoke that, you know what I mean? That emotion. So I'm glad you liked it. It's impossible to like best your reels,
No,
like
I think you did.
especially no, because the one at the beach
No.
I will never, ever, ever top that one. I don't think anything ever could. It's too sexy.
Oh my gosh, you just reminded me there's deleted scenes from that where my boob actually popped out. I should find a way to censor it and post. Okay, that might be too much, but there was deleted scenes.
You should censor it with like little pictures of your book. Like
It'll be the double promo of the century.
you
I'll see
gotta
if
find a
I can
way.
do something with it because it was pretty fucking funny because I was like rising out of the ocean because most of the footage right before it popped out is in the reel. It
Oh
was just like
man.
at one point the clothes that I had like taken scissors because I took scissors to a dress to do that look.
Oh wow.
Could you tell? But when
You're so creative.
when you said that, I heard it in the everyone's so creative voice. And then it's like a bad meme. But no, because it was a same with when I did the Rosa, not the Rosa look, the Carolina look.
Oh yes, that was
You
sexy
actually
too.
saw what was on my body. Like, I wish I took an actual shot, not with the right angle and the light. I had literally like fucking grabbed a pair of pants to make that band because I didn't have a dress like that with the frill just on
Yeah.
hand. I literally grabbed actually the pants I'm wearing right now, these kind of yoga pants, and I like pulled them across here and then I stuck like a envelope or something to make the ruffle, but it was giving in the
Wow. Who would have thought? See, you're so creative.
end.
I knew I wasn't gonna match you, so I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna go dark. I'm gonna just become the severed cape,
Yours
you
is
know?
such a like it's like cinematic though, but that's the thing. Like the ocean, well, look, maybe it would be hard to top the goofiness of that.
It's
But
hard,
like
it's impossible. It's impossible to top that one.
But I don't know if anyone will top your cinema. Like it felt like watching, it feels like somebody made a small film based on my character, and I'm like obsessed with it. And how many friends go looking for like severed? Because I was showing Phil, he's like, where did she get those like fingers? They look legit. In the
They're
reel, they look
real.
even more legit because of the
They
filter you
do.
put. Because
Yeah. They're
fucking,
real, actually. They're real severed fingers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I just Amazon. I wanted to like look up or purchase severed peepees, but they don't have those for some reason.
you actually look them up. I was so curious if you tried.
I tried, but they didn't have what I was looking for.
Okay, but you get a crown anyway for trying because that's friend like gold levels. I looked
Yeah.
for severed penis like but Halloween stuff might have it, but maybe the PPs are too censored.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Maybe I didn't look hard enough.
Well, it's probably for the best. You might have found, man, whenever I'm on Etsy and I'm like looking, like there's been a few times where I was like looking for weird shit to send you.
Yes.
Sometimes you find yourself down a dark hole with some like very like I don't know how else to say it, but like perverse humanoid sculptures that like haunt
Yes.
you know what I'm talking about? It's like
Yes, because I've looked for them for you.
yeah, I can't wait to be rich enough to buy you one of those fucking haunted sculptures because the really
Oh,
haunted looking ones are like $1,000 or something
oh,
like a
all the time. Yes, I'm
yeah.
always on Etsy looking and I'm like, oh, that's too much. I can't. And shipping? I
And
can't.
shipping, I know. But you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
one day
One
you
day
should
we
be
will have all sorts of terrible, weird sculptures in our homes.
yeah, I really want to send you a larvae now. I was like, it's so funny. Like you publish one horror anthology story, and now I'm getting the weirdest reels and stuff. And apparently, larvae is a thing. She's like a
Oh.
Barbie, but she's like the
Oh
dwarf.
yeah, I saw that. I saw you post. I actually love that thing.
She's cool.
She is cool.
I think we all need a larvae. But yeah, it's been pretty glorious. And actually, I just said yes to two things. One,
What?
all from Katya, bless her. She's
We
really
love
my
Katya.
mama. So I'm
Yes.
going on this podcast called Joy Podcast with her. I'm actually going to go to like a studio to record.
Amazing.
And then just now, I want to remember the name of this the other one I think is called Joy Podcast. And then just now she was like, I'm doing this panel um on the on next Friday. She was like, do you wanna be my we need a fourth. Would you want to come be my fourth? And I was like, fuck.
Yes.
Because now when you actually start getting like asked for things, there's like, oh shit. Like now
Yeah.
I've got to do the things.
Gotta do
To
it. You
be like
gotta
the
do it.
actual. So it's for Continuum. It sounds really cool. It's about like a nightmare, looking at like the nightmares that it's a
You're gonna star these.
night panel at the Continuum. It's your worst nightmare. Ensure pleasant dreams by viewing some of the best nightmares ever committed to film and hearing our panel discuss what it takes to be an author or filmmaker to really get inside audiences' heads. Discover how personal nightmares have inspired them in turn. Do dreams really allow you to get away with anything?
Dang.
So
That'll be, I
yeah,
mean, that's a perfect one though, right after the anthology. I mean,
yeah. I think that's why she thought of me, but like bless her. Like I'm nervous, but like I feel like with all these things, there's like this level of the will, the want to do it, the fire that it puts in your
yeah.
life overrides the anxiety. So I definitely want, it's like next Friday night. So I'm excited. Like I'm nervous but excited. And speaking
Yes.
of big giant events,
Yeah.
somebody like listen, we've talked enough about me. I want to focus back on the fucking celebrity in our midst.
Oh, yeah.
No, no, this is facts. I won't let you shy away from the truth. I looked at those photos of you and I was like, my friend is a fucking celebrity. I'm never going to be cool enough. And I want to hear everything about this SmackDown, Yoel West, not Yoel Fest.
Yes.
I mixed them up.
Yes.
Please
Yeah.
tell me everything. I
Yeah.
want to hear it.
Man, it was a time. Like
Yeah.
it was wild. It was so cool. It was so cool. So I'll just break it down by day. I
Yeah.
flew in on
Oh.
Friday.
Mm.
And pretty much I got into my hotel room and my hotel room was like amazing. I opened up the window and it was like right out to the ocean. And
Mm.
I was just like, dang, like who is this
Who
girl just
is
out
she?
here? Who is she? And then I was like, oh, but I'm hungry. So I walked up the street. I walked up the street. I got myself some like Mediterranean food.
I love
And
we're
I
getting blow
oh
by
my God.
blow. I
Yeah.
do want to hear everything. I've got my coffee. I'm ready to hear everything. I want the
I got
meals. I
some,
want.
yeah. I got some baba ganoush, I think is what it's called. But God, it was so freaking good. Is that what it's called?
What did you call it?
Well, you tell
Say
me
it,
how
say
to
it. No,
say
I want to hear your way first.
it. I don't know.
Did you
Good
say,
baba ganoush.
oh, that's good. That's not what
What
I
is it?
heard the first time. That's good.
The first time I probably said
I think
not
you
even
said
close.
panush.
That sounds sexy.
Mm,
So I got Mediterranean food and
yeah.
I went back to my hotel room. I nibbled and then I put it away because I had an event with Owl Crate, which is a book box. Is
Now,
this too much detail?
now I regret you telling me about the food because you didn't even eat it.
Oh, don't worry. I'm gonna get back to it. I'm gonna
Okay,
get
okay.
back to it.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
good.
I put it away. And then I went to Owl Crate, like a special event put on by Owl Crate,
Yes.
um, which is an amazing bookish box and book box. And in that, and I got to meet Robin
Oh.
Alvarez, who we love, who we're gonna have on the show sometime soon. And so I got to like and just hang out with all these really cool authors. And it was there that they announced that they're having or that they're starting a press. They're going to start publishing their own anthologies and stories. And it was at that party that they announced that my short story is part of the anthology Monsters and Masquerade. So that was really, really fun. And I have to say, like during the event, I was just like, we were just BSing other authors,
Yeah.
like given the cheese may, we were just mingling and mixing. And I got, and there's an author, Tracy Wolf, and she has so many books.
Mm.
Um, like her most recent series, like Crave, it's a vampire, like a young
Oh
adult
yeah.
vampire
Yeah, yeah.
series. Yeah. She my friend Caitlin and I were just chit-chatting and she's like, "Oh, can I hang out with you guys? Can I chat?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Hi, I'm Tracy." I was like, "I yeah, I know." I know who you are.
Didn't
But
you
she
give
was,
me her book? I feel like I only know about her because you gave me her book as a comp title for one of mine. You were like,
oh, I
oh, it
might
kind of
have.
reminds me of
Oh,
Crave.
yeah.
And I
Yes.
used it in a pitch for something. That's
Yes.
why I know
So,
who it is.
so you know I'm a
Yeah,
fan. And
yeah.
she just came up and she was the nicest. And we talked for like 45 minutes. Like she just nice human.
Mm,
And so
love me a
after
nice
that,
human.
yeah, and so it was a great evening. And after that, the authors were going to another party for like the opening,
Mm,
opening whatever of Y'all
mm.
West. I didn't go. I was gonna catch up and get some drinks with friends. Um, their flights got delayed, so I went back to my hotel room and I got my baba ganoush and
Did you
and
put
my
it in
like
the fridge at
I was
least?
in the fridge. Yes, it was in the
Okay,
fridge.
lucky,
And I
lucky.
had like it was delicious, like curry chicken. It was so good. And I just put on like a show and I ate and I just had like the happiest little introverted moment because
Yeah.
I knew the next day was going to be busy.
Mm.
I was happy. I was like, this is the best night of my life. I'm eating baba ganoush
In your hotel bed
in
watching
my,
hotel TV. That's the best
yes.
feeling though. I used to
Oh,
love that when I was a flight attendant and we'd overnight. It's a
yes.
really precious memory of mine sitting in this fucking fancy white sheets bed that we'd never have at home
Yes.
because who does laundry that often? And eating like a freaking elaborate meal that I decided to spoil myself with and watching the trashiest shit because you can't change the channel.
Yeah, that was it. That was me.
It's magic. This is why we get along. We appreciate
Yeah.
this random magic moment.
Oh, it was so nice. Like if
Yeah.
I would have just, I was so happy. I was like, I could leave now. But I had things to do. So
Yeah.
the next morning, I got up and got myself all like, glamified. I did my little wing tip mess, whatever it's called, eyeliner.
Looking good.
Look, I was, working,
How are
and
you
then
doing it? Do you like put something there or you freehand it?
no, okay. Here's, and it's probably
Anything.
way wrong what I'm doing, but
What?
I go in with a pencil, like a eye pencil, and
Yeah.
I do it. And then I make sure I like freehand it. I make sure I like it. And then I go back with a liner and
That's
I just go
actually
over.
smart.
Yeah, I don't
I
know, but
like
it
that
worked.
idea.
It worked for me.
Mm.
So my day started like at maybe 10. I had an interview with an influencer and it was really she was so like energetic and so
Mm.
fun. And after everything I answered, she would say, "Slay." And I
I
was like,
love people who do that.
yeah. So I was like, yes, I am. Thank you. I am
Yeah.
slaying this. And so after that, I had a panel that I was moderating,
Ooh.
with our friend Camilla Cole was part of it.
Oh.
Just like it was a debut author panel.
Mm.
And so that one, it went really well. It was fun.
Mm.
I had my lunch and then I did an interview with Al Crate again.
Yes.
I was with Al Crate like the whole day. I did an interview and then I at one I did a panel with my influencers of my publishing house Underline. And then at two I did another panel with Al Crate. By that time I was starting to feel like a little like my brain was kind
Mm.
of like, uh-oh, like
Yeah.
we need like candy or something. So
Mm.
I rushed and got some M&Ms because I was like having like it was
Oh, you
so
didn't eat
much.
until then?
No, I had eaten, but I think my nerves were just like at
Yeah.
such like high levels the whole time. And I was like on
Mm.
because I was doing these panels and I was like, I've got
Oh,
to be
yeah.
funny. I've got to be on point. And so I was just like, I was so like zeroed in.
Overstimulated.
I was so
Yeah.
overstimulated. Oh, that's a thing. When you get
Yeah.
it's a huge school. It's the coolest high school I've ever seen. It's
Really?
huge. It's huge. It's like a university there. It's so big. But there were thousands of like teenagers and readers, but so many young people were there. I mean, it was full. And so like as I'm just walking anywhere, people are stopping and like, so it was really fun to like see the people that I've seen online and
Yeah.
to be, just
Mm.
chit-chatting. But by that third panel, my brain was like, uh-oh. Like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, you have a long day still to go. And so I got some trail mix and I ran to my book signing, and that was like an hour long, and it was amazing. I think that was maybe my favorite like thing of the whole thing, was just getting to chat with readers and sign.
And I
um
saw quite a line.
there was
I
a
saw
line.
quite a
Yeah.
line. Slay, my queen.
I was slaying.
I love that. I want to bring that
Yeah,
in.
it
It's
was
good energy.
amazing. Yeah, yeah, no, she was great energy. It was amazing to like see so many people that like that
Mm.
have read the book, or that maybe just saw me on one of the panels and bought it because I'm so funny and I'm so, charismatic.
You
Um
are though.
so I got to hug so many people and take pictures, and that was really, really a great time. And then right after my signing, I ran to change,
Yeah.
and I ran across campus to meet Ryan LaSala, and we
That was
like,
at the end of the day.
yes, that
Fuck
was my
me.
last thing. That's why I was like, the trail
No.
mix. I gotta get peanuts and M&Ms in me now. And so I
Um,
ran across campus, and I made it. I was about like 10 minutes late or so, but he was
yeah.
already on stage, like telling everybody what to do. We didn't have like any time to run through like
Mhm.
our stuff, but some of like the people that we brought in had a time to do their little run it throughs. But like everybody that was helping was so just on point. And right before they started letting people in, and it was like a packed house, and I was like my brain stopped working. I was like, I don't am I supposed to know lines? And Ryan's like, oh no, you're fine. You've got this. Like, just read the cards. It doesn't matter. Like, remember, he's like, the worse we do, the funnier it is. And I said, okay, thank you.
That's
So
such good calming
it's,
advice to give.
oh, he, Ryan fucking Lasala, man.
He's a
Like,
star.
he's a star. He put together
Mm.
this whole thing. I was just there, like, to bounce ideas off of, but mostly just be like, yeah, that's great. Like, thumbs up.
Yeah.
I'll do whatever you say, Ryan Lasala.
Mm.
And he is such a like showman. He
Yeah.
had everybody in line, and then like we were all backstage, and right before, and he's like, okay, everybody take breaths, like we were doing
Aw.
breathing exercises, and he was like, it's showtime.
Yeah.
And the whole bit, which is hilarious, was like, it was basically like he was so nervous, like his bit, like the show was, he's so nervous about having a good show that he like presses this magic button that like helps have AI comes and creates a better version of him. And so
Ooh.
we were cracking up because at the beginning of the show, he was supposed to go out there and dance and do terrible, like just totally butcher everything he was doing. And we were laughing backstage because I think he did such a good job that at first the audience didn't know, like you could hear them like, oh no, like he's like doing terrible.
Terrible.
And so you could hear them doing like sympathy claps and like, oh, like doing these laughs. And then they finally like caught on, like, oh, okay, this is the bit. And but yeah, he is
Hilarious. Way
so
to get your
funny.
audience on the toes by like starting with like a pity vote. Like, oh,
Yes. Yeah, we were cracking up backstage because you could just hear him like, oh, ha ha ha.
yeah,
They didn't
that's
know how
so
to take
orcs.
it. He did such a good job. But then everybody caught it. It was so
Yeah.
funny. And yeah, and the videos he created, everything, like he did spectacular. And I got on stage to do like my bit with him, and at first I was like, oh no, like I really don't know what I'm doing. But then I locked eyes with him, and we just started like just going for it. And the show went so fast. It was so fun. We had all these authors on stage, just
Mhm.
being hilarious. And yeah, so we finished that. It was a wild time. And then we went back to the hotel and had a party.
Shit.
And then, yeah, I know.
Big
That's
day.
it was
Big
a
day.
long day. Like
Mhm.
I think I got up at maybe 7 in the morning, and I
Mm.
was back in my hotel room by 10:30 or so. It was a long, long day. And so, but amazing. It was
You're
so fun.
amazing.
Dude,
You're
I don't know
amazing.
how, I don't know. The podcast has trained us
It
very
has,
well.
it really has. Like,
Yeah.
every time I'm just like, even like saying yes to this panel thing, I was just like, it's that feeling of like, I feel like that most of the time, even before recording the podcast, like walking on stage and feeling like, what the fuck am I doing? But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that's why I love doing it with you. And obviously, Ryan is just incredible, as. And so when you
Oh,
have
yeah.
that person who's got your back, it kind
Yeah.
of like whatever, even though like we probably have fucked up sometimes, there's probably been deleted scenes or whatever, but like it winds up being because you just ultimately just being yourself. I think that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's not like we're kind of talking about it with Arlene a bit like mask for me something really interesting I'm thinking about at the moment is what is the balance between masking and being authentic, because I actually
Mm,
love to inject a bit of energy and a bit of like effort. I love to put some effort into my relationships, and
yeah.
like sometimes it comes naturally, sometimes it's a bit of an effort to be like a bit more razzle dazzle. So it's like something about that balance I think is where authenticity lies, because I think
Yeah.
it's nice to do that. I think that's a nice human thing to do, to put effort in and try be a little bit more. And I think for people like you and me, we actually low key, high key love it in the end.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's
Yes.
finding that balance. And I think like that's ultimately it's just you. Like it's just another part of you. This like you also are a showman, a showwoman rather. And
Indeed.
yeah, and a director and a producer and a filmmaker and a
Yes.
comedian and an author and a damn supermodel if ever I saw one. Like,
Ah, yes,
listeners,
yes,
you're looking
yes.
at the pinnacle of the publishing world right now. That's it. Amazing,
That's it.
glorious,
All of the
magical.
things. All of the things. But I do want to like going back to like being vulnerable and
Mm,
like relations. I have to say because we had this conversation yesterday
yeah.
where like I was on my treadmill. My
You're
the
to the
loudest
moon.
treadmill, the loudest treadmill you'll ever see because it's I got it from like a yard sale site for free.
I cackled
Um
so hard. You sending me voice notes on the. I was like, because you didn't explain straight away. And I was like, is she like, and then when you did, I was like, is she on a treadmill to the moon? Because from the other side, it just was like, whoo, 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 whoo. What is this treadmill?
Yeah, I had to explain, Melanie, I'm not on a helicopter right now. I'm actually on just a really, really bad treadmill. But I was explaining to Melanie like it it was a moment where it was like all of these amazing things were happening, but because of so many like insecurities in the past
Mm,
that have been instilled in me from my mother. Like every picture I would see of me, I would be like, oh, dang it. Like, oh man, I was picking apart every angle of my body, of the way I looked, of every single thing. And so the whole time I was like reposting these things, but also being like, but people are gonna see like my belly or whatever. And it's interesting because in my life, I'm so like I'm very comfortable in the way I look. Like I'm very happy. My partner's very happy. Everything's good. But, hello.
mhm.
But thinking that maybe my mother's gonna see these pictures and then it's gonna go into the side chat with a sister-in-law or something of like, oh wow, like, you know it just like all of these little insecurities
Mm,
came out of out of my gut. And I was telling Melanie this, like, that's I'm on the treadmill because I'm feeling like a little insecure and I'm whatever. And she was like, bitch, like she left the voicemail real quick, like, bitch, don't you dare. And I like got teary-eyed when you came
yeah.
real quick and snapped me out of it. And she was, and so thank you for that. But it's one of those things where
Mm,
having the right friendships where you can be vulnerable but your friend could be like, bitch,
yeah.
no. And is your number one fan because I would never in my life look at a picture of anybody and pick their physical appearance apart. Like I'm always looking at pictures like, oh, they look great. Oh, like slay. But if
Yeah.
it's me, I automatically do because I hear, you
Yeah.
know, a voice that's back there. And so thank you for smacking that voice
Oh my
right out of my
gosh, I
head.
could not smack you harder when you said it. And like the thing is, I get it. Like I can this is the thing, like I can only smack you so hard because I'm working through it too. And it's like these are the like for me, it blows my mind because you're so goddamn beautiful and hot. It blows my mind that you would look at those pictures and see anything to pick apart. At the same time, I understand it because we tend to do it with ourselves, but it's not what like it's like you say when you're at home with yourself and just if you're making peace with yourself, it's actually the other voices of like our families, our the magazines we grew up, a lot of times the women in our life, unhealed women in our life who
Mm,
have like an obsession with looking a certain way, who thinks thin is a win and that's it.
hmm.
They don't care what's behind it. They don't care that it's often like, and that's not to shit on thin people. Thin can be super healthy, like 100%. But the mindset of like, yeah, of like, and there's a favorite quote of mine that I say to myself all the time, which is, did you hate that part of yourself before someone told you you should? And I
Oh,
think this a lot because, like, it's like we were chatting in DMs. Like, I have quite a like, my middle is not narrow like the typical woman,
right,
inverted commas, because is that even like typical or whatever?
right.
And I used to struggle so much thinking how ugly it was, how much I had to hide it, and how many women and in this case I have to call out women because they are the worst. And often it's because they've been criticized. And that's why I
Hmm.
say unhealed women. They project that onto us. And I've been making peace with my belly because my husband he thinks it's cute. He's never felt like he's always like wanted to touch that part of me, even though I was like, oh, hide it, put it away.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing but love. And so when you can like have people around you like that who help you heal from it, of course, I will always project that back to my friends because I think it's really fucked up how we like have been brought up to like hate so many parts of ourselves that like are just human, you know?
Mm, hmm. That's yeah. Yeah, and I just have to say like I thank you for it for reminding me because it's so interesting. Like you would never personally like when I'm looking at everybody like I love all different
Yeah,
bodies. Like I love
same.
like it just like I think everybody's body is so beautiful, especially when they're like confident in
Yeah,
themselves. And
that's
so
it.
I it just it
I'm
just
the
sucks that my
same. It's like
brain, right?
I look at all the different varied bodies. I'm like, wow, everyone is so beautiful in their own way. So
Yeah.
why do we still tell ourselves that? But like, yeah, like literally, I remember, and again, I've been making my peace with it. I've been like trying to love this flesh I'm in as it
I
is,
love that.
trying so
Yes.
hard. I force myself to look in the mirror and
Oh,
just
that's
be like,
hard. That's
look at
good. I
her.
love it.
Look at her.
Yes.
Look at this woman that you've become. Like, feel pride in this flesh that you has carried you so far. But I
Mm.
know what you're talking about, and every now and then it slides out. And like, I literally had my auntie one time, and sorry, my alarm's going off. And I was like, I'd taken all these photos at the hot springs, and the unhealed part of me that was still because it's still sensitive. Yeah, you can heal, but you
Yes.
still don't need people being like. Anyway, so I was showing her these pictures, and I was like, oh, I know my tummy is like really out and so and I was like, who cares? That's how you look and you're not ashamed of it. Why are you so worried what she's going to think? Because it was worrying what she's going to think, like you said, was she's
Yeah.
going to tell the cousins like, oh, Mel's gotten chunky because we know how they talk. We've been in
Yeah.
the room when they
Yeah.
talk that way to our faces or to other people about other people. It's like all these people think about sometimes like has she put on, and God forbid you got too thin, then they hate you for that, you know.
Right.
It's just
You
like
just can't
you
do
can't
right.
win with those people. But as soon as I showed her the photo, she said, oh, she's like, ah, I'm just showing her photos of my lush hot spring experience. She's like, oh, she's like, I've put on weight too recently and rah, rah, rah.
Uh,
Like an
yeah.
underhanded. And I
Yeah.
actually stopped. I checked her and I was like, oh, I was like, why would you say that looking at this photo?
I
She's like,
love that.
uh, uh, uh. And I was like, my heart was racing because I'd never checked an adult, like an elder like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I will not let her trauma burn me right now. I was like, why would you say
Yes.
that looking at this photo? And she's like,
Yeah.
oh. she didn't expect me to react that way because everyone in her life would be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm trying now to diet. I'm like running extra every day and rah, rah, rah. But I was like, I said to her, I was like, I'm actually really proud of my body. I was like, I love how I look now more than ever,
Yes.
which is true, which is
Yeah.
true. You know, in college, I was like very, very slim. And you know what? I thought I was fat even then because of
Right.
my mindset, because we were like taught to always pick apart the tiniest thing. So
Yep.
yeah, here's to
Yeah.
breaking that down. Thank you for sharing that, my friend. That's like,
No,
it's
thank you
really powerful.
for smacking me in the face because truly, like our bodies, I love that you're like our bodies carry us through so much, and so we
Yeah.
should just be proud of them in whatever form.
Yeah.
And I love that because truly every body is so beautiful.
Mm.
So thank you for that. But speaking of beautiful,
Yes.
we
Beautiful,
had a beautiful,
powerful soul people.
wonderful soul guest
Yeah.
on, Arlene Abundis. So, would you like me to read this week's?
I would love that. Read it
Okay,
in your
great.
Severed Cape voice.
Arlene
Oh, maybe
Abundis.
not.
Okay. Arlene Abundis is a Cuban American author whose work honors resilience through mental and emotional health. She has struggled with social anxiety and post-traumatic stress for over 2 decades. A former preschool teacher, she lives nestled with her husband and 3 children between the foothills of San Gabriel Mountains in California. Pastelitos, the drip guava jelly, gardens and library adventures with her kids calm the swirling thoughts of her mind. I
Hmm.
love that.
I love that.
Swirly.
I love
Yeah.
her. And like,
Yes.
what a cool episode to have. And just all, and you know what? That's what I'm realizing. And it's why I push myself to share stuff. I feel like your authenticity unlocks authenticity in other people. And then we can just all be like comfortable and honest with each other. And it makes life fun. It makes life like feel full of love. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like it just,
yeah.
yeah, I'm so fucking proud of you right now. I'm like,
I'm proud of you. You've got a, hey, we are beautiful. We are special.
yeah,
We are creative and wonderful. And I'm going to start just treating myself like I would treat you, Melanie Schubert. And I'm just going to start talking nice to myself because I think we're all so beautiful and perfect and wonderful. So
I
I should
agree. I
I should
think
be
like
kind.
everybody should do. I always say to my friends, and it maybe I'm telling them what I always wanted to hear myself. You should always like love on yourself and look after yourself and invest in yourself in every way you can. There's and what you said, that's how I started to do it. I started to think about people I loved, and I was like,
Mm,
there's kind of like, as long as it's not taxing on you, there's no limit to what I want for them and like how I love them and how I see them shining bright. So why
yeah.
not? Why not like if that's what helps you initially shift your focus, it is helpful to think about it like, how would I love this friend? How would I cheer this friend? And it's honestly the only way I'm able to promote myself so happily,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I started thinking like, if I was doing it for my friend, I would pull out all the stops. I was like, so pull out all the stops for yourself because you've been working
Hell
fucking
yes.
hard, you know.
Hell yes. You have been working hard. Hell
Slay.
yes. Yes. And in the words of Destiny's Child, like I don't think you're ready for this jelly. You know what I mean? This jelly, you're not ready for this jelly. So this body is bootylicious. Hey, I am here for it. I love a bootylicious body.
That was my favorite closing of the podcast. That's like gonna be hard to top. I just
Mm.
always think that like if we like actually worked in the office together, you know that meme where the girl walks in with groceries and her friend is like vibing in the kitchen in her pajamas? I can't remember what show it's
Yeah.
from. And
Yeah,
she walks
yeah,
in and
yeah.
they just start booty dancing just wordlessly in the kitchen. I'm just
Yes.
like that's us. We're
That's
just
it. We're
like,
at 100%. We're just going for it. Yep.
yes.
That's it.
Well, proud of you. I'm so proud that you did this massive event and like doing all these hard things. And yeah.
Yeah. And I can't wait. We're going to hear more about all the amazing things that you're going to be doing soon.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I have to reply to this
yay.
email. Oh, also
Do it.
shout out to Devona who won this copy by making me laugh so hard with her.
Oh,
She won
cool.
this copy of Dish, so I'm gonna send it to her. I mean, Reese Nicholson still has to reply to my generous offer to be on the show. He doesn't even know it's invite only at this point. Like, whatever.
Missing out.
Missing out.
Missing
They
out.
shut my
Big
shop.
time.
You Bye.
Oh my God. Is it really happening?
It's real.
Honor to be here with you girls.
Oh, no, honestly, we are Melanie like text or messaged me bright and early for her this morning, and she was like, "I'm so excited. I can't wait." She was doing the dancey emojis. Yeah, we were having
It's true. I've been looking forward to it. There's some episodes where you just feel like you're having family on, and well, I don't really get along with my family, so bad example. But it's like chosen family, like
Yes, that's how I feel too. Like I'm in the room with you all, so I feel the best energy here.
Yes, I love all the books behind you, not just because I see Sinner's Isle, but because you have so many beautiful books on the shelves, including yours I see back there, which I love. Like, how are you feeling? I mean, it's soon, it's happening. Like, how are you?
I'm doing good. It's been surreal. I don't know how to describe debuting. You wait for it so long, and then it's a few weeks away. So I'm like, I don't know how I'll feel that day. Probably all the feelings and emotions, but I know you know, Angela, because you have to promote the heck out of yourself. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
and then I just feel like there's so much support for me in this book that sometimes I just want to cry. Like you and Melanie have been such a big part of the journey too. And I'm just so grateful for it all. So I'm feeling excited, but nervous. Is it normal to be nervous?
Yeah, I still get nervous like most times before recording. Like,
Yeah. Publishing like forces us to do all the hard things.
mm,
Like especially for us introverted souls, it for many of us it forces us to have to talk to humans, which is hard, and do all of these things. And so yeah, I think feeling some nerves is human for sure.
And I was so lucky that I got to go to your launch event for Sinner's Isle at the Rip Bodice. So I'm like learning from all of you too, right? Like, okay, they look like they're fine, like they're normal. So I should be okay too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
you're leading
Oh yeah.
before me. So I'm
Oh,
just
well, first of all, let's go back to that because you are so hot. You're so gorgeous. Like she came in with that dress. I want to say it was like green velvet or something.
it was a velvet
Yeah,
dress.
I spotted you. I was like, damn, that is you look great. But I have to say, like that night, I was sweating bullets. I was so frazzled and so nervous. I mean, like I was nervous to hug people because I was like, oh, they're gonna feel like the heat coming from my back.
mm,
So I faked it the whole night.
I
yeah.
did not feel any sweat. You looked gorgeous, amazing. I was just like, okay, let me take some notes.
But I think
And
that's people will think the same about you. I think that's the thing. Nobody can see the internal thing that's going on in our heads. And I think like all of us, I mean, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I do from like our interactions, I feel like we're all quite similar in this. Like we do love people, we do light up around people, but there's like internal pouring sweat and external pouring sweat often, be that as it will.
they do this. Yes, internal, external, they just collide.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like since I'm introverted too, I've always thought like, gosh, I'm so introverted. But it's what you said, Melanie. It's not about
Mm,
being introverted. It's like I'm extroverted around the right people. Like I come out of my shell.
yeah.
It has to be like a safe person. Like
Mm,
I will never belong in a group. I've said this before. I have social anxiety, so I will never be able to go into like a large group and be like, "Hey, everyone." No, I'll like go to the side and I'll find someone who I connect with, who I feel safe with, and I think there's so much power in that. I used to think like in school growing up, like why all these popular cool kids, you know? And I find like, no, the best kids are the ones who form these interconnections that you could talk deeply about, that you can share your soul with, not just small talk. Because I can't do small talk.
yeah.
Yes.
And
I
you
can't
know
do it.
what? Like as somebody who like really pushed myself to be more like outgoing and social, and I don't regret that, but I do remember at one point going into rooms like that and trying that thing of being like the lighting up, like the loud person in the room. And I actually found that it tends to draw the wrong, I mean, we don't want to diss those people, but kind of the wrong people, because they expect you to be like that all the time.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes I love what you said about we want to shine our light, but we don't have to shine it in that way. Like our light just glimmers differently, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's good. I think we could end the episode here. I think,
Yeah.
we've given enough. This is
But let
such
me
a good
tell you-
conversation.
Yeah. But when we find those people, I feel like I do become the loudest person in the room. Like once I've got my crew, I'm like shameless.
Love that. I totally see that 100 billion%.
Or like if
love
I was there with you two and we were at an event and you were shy, I'm suddenly not shy. If I'm like looking after you, I'll be like, here's my girls, buy their book. And like there's embarrassment, but there's too much pride. You're just like, and if I sense someone else is like more anxious than me, it like kind of shuts off some of my anxiety weirdly. And
Yeah.
I mean, it works in my favor when that happens.
It's beautiful. It's
That's
perfect.
a squad goal.
Yeah.
Those are squad goals. I want to be in an event with you two. I can imagine. That's how I felt with Jessica, because every time Jessica's there with me, I'm like, did you buy Jessica's book? Because like we're all a squad.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Jessica Parra, hands down, wherever she's at, you're going to be okay. Because
Yeah.
she's going to be like, make sure like to introduce you to whoever or just to talk for you. And you're like, okay, thank you.
Yes.
We need those. We need
Yeah.
those souls to just like go to battle for us, which,
And she has
she's one of
queen
those.
energy. I call her, she's queen energy. So when you're around her,
100%.
like, oh, okay.
Yes.
Taken care of, like spiritually, emotionally, physically, everything. She's like a protector. I kind of feel like that with her.
Hell yes. Yes, I just got chills. Yep. Just thinking about Jessica Parra gave me chills.
Yeah. And we know she's gonna watch this. So I just love, because actually I think she connected me with you, Arlene, and to like read your book. And I'm so grateful that she did, because she was like, I just know you're gonna vibe this. And I did. I like ugly cried reading your book. It touched me in all the ways. So yeah, shout out to our momager. She is the older I get, the more I realize how precious those people are who like really shine their light on everyone and like pull out the best in you, because the podcast wouldn't even exist, as we know, without Mama Para. But let's go back to you for a moment, because I feel like the three of us could have 10 Zoom calls and not even touch the sides. So I mean, can you tell our listeners who don't know you a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So first of all, I always say I'm a mama. So I have 3 kids, and that's been my identity for a long time before I became an author or writer. I stayed home for over a decade to raise my babies. I mean, I still have small ones. I'm still raising, but I also used to teach preschool, and now I work at a middle school. So it's a different vibe, but I'm loving the older kids and those deeper intellectual talks you can have, when they're feeling you, when they want to. And and I write. My work honors mental health and emotional health. And yeah, that's kind of just me. I'm not too interesting.
You are. You're fabulous. You are. You are so interesting. I love seeing everything you post and everything you do. You are amazing. Did you know you always wanted to be a writer? Like, how did we like get to this path?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a question that comes up now that I'm doing author visits. I'm like, kids do want to know, and adults too. So I didn't always want to be like an author. Like, how some people are like, I dreamed of being an author. For me, I was always a reader. So I surround myself with books, like you said, Angela, since I was a child. I was severely bullied, like from 1st through 3rd grade. And I would hide in the library. Or I would hide, and there was a tree with a hollow that was to the ground. So I fit inside, and I would hide from my bullies there and take books and read. I don't know why anybody else didn't find that tree in the play yard. But anyway, it was for me. And I just always loved words. I connected with words. I escaped through the worlds that authors penned. I wanted to connect so bad. So these characters were like my friends. And I didn't start thinking about writing until I got to high school. And I went through some really hard things and I discovered poetry. So that ties back like my lyrical writing. I loved poetry. You know, poetry, you can kind of mask things, you know, unless you look inward and what the writer or author is saying. So I just kind of poured my heart in during those years of poetry and then got married, had kids. And it wasn't until I was reading to my kids and I was like, you know, there's never been a protagonist like me. Like I've never seen a little girl that first of all was Cuban American. I mean, like Margarita Engel hadn't even come onto the scene, you know, like there wasn't this Latina or diverse writers coming yet. So I was like, I love children's books. So I started a blog kind of reviewing books. And this dream just came about like, what if I penned my stories? Because I really wanted to belong. So I started writing. I went back to school to take like a children's literature class. And well, I initially went back to get my credentials for teaching again, but I got lost in a dream. So I went back and I took children's literature and I was like, oh, I'm going to show my professor, somebody outside of my family, what I had written so far. And they're like, this needs to be published. And it was Into the Mighty Sea. That was the first story I ever wrote. And so I was like, I could do this. I could write. I could be an author. So my dream did not come about until I was in like my late 20s. So it's never too late. It's never too late to be what you could have been either. So yes.
That's beautiful. I love that. So after school, like, did you query, like, I want to know, like, what is the process for, you know, children's books in particular, like picture books? Can you like take us into that journey that, you know, once you started writing, did you query? Like, tell me about your road to publication.
Ooh, it's been a long road. I shared on social media some snippets, like it's been 7 years from when I wrote it to when I held it in my hands a few weeks
Wow.
ago.
Wow.
And it was a really hard road. I think like every author, you know, it's a different path for everyone, but for me in particular, it was just so hard to break in. It's very competitive. You know, it's very saturated, the kids lit, especially picture books. And you know, you kind of have to have a very unique idea and an editor who really like loves the book. So I started querying after my professor was like, this needs to be published. I think that opinion from a professional that wasn't like my husband or my kids or people who love me and would tell me it was good.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. So I just like researched how to format a manuscript. I didn't know how to do that either. And agents and a lot of rejections would pour in, as you can imagine. I don't even want to look at like my early agent like querying things because I would be so embarrassed, but it's part of the journey, right? And a lot of rejections until I kind of got on Twitter and a lot of pitching events were happening and I got to connect with other writers. And you know, back then it was Twitter, right? I think now it's what is it? X.
X.
X. I'm not even on there anymore too much. But I started kind of doing like PB pitch or like just these little events where you can kind of get your story out there. And sometimes agents would like my things, but it was always like I got to the door and then I opened a little bit and bam, and like closed in my face. And it's like, okay, I try again. But there was like something inside of me that now I understand why. But back then I didn't know why I didn't give up. Like I would just persevere. Like I'm like, I don't care. That door slammed in my face. That's okay. I'm gonna keep going, keep going. And you know, it was a lot of door. It was like a lot. So, and now I know it's because I needed to heal. This was all leading me to healing. I needed to write the story to heal. So I participated. It was like pandemic 2021. And PB Pitch rolled around. It's an event just for picture book writers. And Carolina Ortiz at HarperCollins was on. And she was the only like I got. And that was it. And I was like, I spit out my coffee. I couldn't believe because it had been years. I'm like, what? So then I was crying. But I knew, right? It could still be a no, but just, it was a lot of hope. Hope is good in the journey. Hope is always like the light that we need, right? Even if we know it's not going to work out. So I couldn't get it to her without an agent, but she had interest. So that helped a lot in the querying process to say that an editor at HarperCollins was potentially interested in, acquiring the book. She wanted to see it. So I then signed with my former agent, and we went on sub, and in 3 months, Carolina Ortiz acquired the book. One revise and resubmit, and Harper got it. So I was like, oh my gosh, but that was 5 years in, right? That's like, kind of like lightning struck for me, but not when I started. It was already, the road had been long, and I had a lot of rejections. So, and Carolina Ortiz, I've said it before, she was my first emotional place in exploring these facets of myself and into the mighty sea with Mariel, that for all my life, I just didn't want to look in that mirror. She was constantly like putting mirrors up for me, like, okay, let's explore more, because she believed in me. She knew I could write a very psychological story, but it was hard to look at it sometimes. Writing to me is a mirror. Sometimes I'm so excited to look in this mirror, and other times I'm like, I can't. It's too painful for me. So when I was revising and, going back and forth with her in our, revisions after being on contract, everything I would tell her, it was like I was for the first time experiencing someone who saw me. I never felt seen, like in the way that she made me feel with our, working together as a partnership. And I remember April 1st, my manuscript was due, the last one, when the contract says you have to turn in. And I was done, and it was my son's 14th birthday, and I turned it in, and I remember that day, I knew I had to start therapy. After all that I had done, like all that inner child work, really, with writing the story, healing my inner child, I'm like, it's time. It's time. And writing this book launched me into therapy. I would not have healed or have coping skills like I do now if this book wasn't here. So it was all like this, it was supposed to be. It's like divinely aligned. It's supposed to have happened. It's just the road for all of our journeys can be so different, so long, sometimes shorter, but then you experience something else right in it. So don't give up, just persevere. Looking back, I'm like, that's why I didn't give up, because my heart, my mind, my soul were like, you need to heal, and we have to take this journey to get you where you need to go.
Mm.
That was so long, I'm sorry.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, please don't ever apologize for that kind of, those words are so powerful and so relatable, honestly. Like I really do identify with writing like being like some kind of healing journey as well. And yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, thank you. I feel seen and safe here and heard. So I think it just makes it easier when those people are your people. So you can easily express yourself and let your guard down. Because a lot of people ask me, like, it's hard to be vulnerable, and it is. It's so hard to write something on that page that, everyone's going to perceive me. Like my author's note, I'm basically telling people what's wrong with me. So,
yeah.
but I just think there's so much power in that, in being vulnerable, and the bravery that comes with like letting your guard down, at the right time, right? I don't advise to let your guard down or be vulnerable all the time. There's boundaries that should never be crossed in situations or partnerships or relationships. But when that person is safe, your guard should come down, because there's so much connection. And that's what we all long for, especially as a writer. For me, I long for connection. It's so solitary. It's a solitary endeavor, but I really long to connect. I think deep down, I'm like, and that's why I went into traditional publishing, because I wanted that team. I wanted the editor, I wanted the artist, I wanted like everyone coming together. And that product is not just me. It's a village of people behind that book, and also supporting the book, right? Books are what they are because of the audience, the readers, your squad, everyone who believes in you. Like you're telling me, I was crying when you left me that review and you posted that. I was like in tears, and my husband's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I know, I'm so emotional. I'm always going to be the emotional like girl, but that's okay. Because it just touched me in such a deep way, Melanie. And I've always like, I've watched the podcast and I've connected with you, and I know Angela, so I've connected with her. But with hers was just something like a kindred like energy or spirit to you, and I was just like, I can't wait to meet her. And I hope the day we get
I'm
to
gonna
meet. But
cry. The feeling is mutual, and like, yeah, I felt very seen by your book, seen by, like, I was actually good at masking, so I did make a lot of friends in primary school, probably not the best ones, like really toxic ones that she still needed therapy for, that made me into a people pleaser. So in a way, I really identify the wanting so desperately to have a family that I found that felt like they saw me. And I think that's something that we see a lot in books, feeling like a bit of an outsider and like looking for those people and who just who see you as you are, who aren't threatened by your boundaries, who like cherish your weirdness, who are like my friends now, when I share some deep, dark thing about me, they're like, thank you for sharing that with me. We'll work through it together. And it's just like, whereas like, yeah, I feel like we can probably both resonate with maybe having voices that didn't respond that way in our past and like being encouraged to mask that very much. So yeah, I could have these conversations all day. I really appreciate the authenticity and vulnerability because yeah, it makes me feel seen, and I know it makes other people. I think a lot of us are like this that come to writing. We pour out our souls into that because we couldn't find a space to do it where we were when we were younger, maybe.
That's the truth right there.
I felt that so much. Like I want to cry. I cried. I mean, I could. No, shouldn't say that.
I cry on the drop of a hat. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm a real easy cry. She has a lot of
love it.
feelings just
She's got a lot of
constantly just
feelings. It's
there.
beautiful. Yeah. It's right. Yeah. Right at the surface.
That's why I feel connected to you because I'm all feelings. Like you know the movie Inside Out. Like I feel like all those characters, especially sadness.
Well, you know, without sadness, it's like, you know, how are you going to learn and grow and
Yeah.
experience like the beauty, right? It's like you got to live in the sadness too. Otherwise, it's not authentic. Now you mentioned that you wanted to like traditionally publish on purpose. And I feel that too, because I know for a fact I needed a team. Like I needed all hands on deck because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But has there been anything that's surprised you about publishing?
Yeah, so how slow it is. And I know that's such a cliche answer, but it's so, and I know there's a reason why, right? And I think, Angela, I remember on your launch at the Rip Bodice, you talked about that when you didn't know either. We were like the same, like we're diving in.
Yep.
So that's how I felt too. Like I don't really know. But what surprised me was how long the process takes, like to even acquire a book, like all these meetings they have to have. So I understand why a person would be discouraged from wanting to traditionally publish, because I've had people tell me, well, it's so much easier to self-publish, it's faster. But like, I really went into it for connection. So what surprised me the most was just, I guess, how long things take. And I haven't done a novel yet. I'm writing my middle grade, but I think it's shorter, right? Because picture books, the art process takes long, like approving like the art or if there's direction that they need to take or so that's I think it takes 2.5 years sometimes for picture books. So
Wow.
and sometimes novels are a year, I think, or a year and a half. So I'm like, oh, theirs is already released. But I'm like, I feel like not. But it's okay. It's worth it. It's just I was really shocked at the length of the time. I didn't do a lot of research.
It's it's such a slow burn romance of a career. Like, let's be real. And I appreciate you sharing that because I do think if you're stubborn enough and if you want it enough and you do the work networking and just keep, I think you can find a place in that, you know, and find your way into it. And that's the thing, like, yeah, I really resonate with all of that as well. Just like finding that team. Yeah, like hats off to Indie Pub people, but like, yeah, for me, I felt that desire for that team as well.
Yeah, and I think that there was a longing. I don't know. I think deep down inside, I think this is the first place I'm going to admit this. I kind of knew I was broken, right? Like I knew there was broken parts of me. And in the story, I use a lot of colors, I like black. I'm not like a very colorful person. So when I wrote the book, I was actually very surprised. I'm like, why am I using all these colors? Like, I like, I mean, in high school, I like Edgar Allan Poe. I gravitated toward dark themes, dark things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when I wrote the story, I think that mirror was like going up, like, I think I just wanted to be like a kaleidoscope, like somebody see the broken pieces, these colors that are shining. Can someone see them? So what you said, Melanie, resonated with me that we sometimes mask. I masked a lot, right? Growing up, I try not to, but it's hard. It's very hard.
Especially as women. I was just chatting about this with Monty in DMs. I think even now, through a healing process, I'm still like learning to drop my masks with my friends because I actually want to be able to be as comfortable. Also, the first time sharing that, I actually want to be able to be as comfortable with like new friends as I am with, say, my husband at home, where one minute we might be booty dancing and like screaming like drag queens, and then we might just sit in silence for a few hours, like there's that variance and there's not this expectation to constantly entertain. But I do think as women, we feel that the most to just kind of smile and make everyone's day. But I'm realizing the people who, and like, it's nice. I love to inject a bit of energy and love and smiles into people's lives. But I think you have to also give yourself permission to not. And I notice with people who drop the mask and just chill with me, I'm starting to appreciate it more and more. And just like, yeah, we don't have to be like on 24/7. It's so freeing. But yeah, we have to unlearn it, basically.
Yes, and as a mom, maybe Angela can relate too on this. It's kind of hard sometimes to drop the mask even more because you want to be like happy and cheery, but at the same time, I can't, it's not realistic to be like a happy, cheery mom. I think
Oh no, not me. My kids know.
it's because I'm a recovering people pleaser, so I I want to please, and I think I was not doing therapy when I became a mom, and I became a mom very young at 23. So I was kind of like growing up with my firstborn and kind of like also seeing these things, right? Like, oh, I don't want to be this kind of mom, right? Because what I saw growing up or what, emotionally was missing. So I do a lot of repair. Like if I get angry or I yell, it's normal, right? Like we lose our we get out of control. I repair. I just go and I've always said I'm sorry. And I didn't even have a word for that when I first became a mom. I just thought it was just what I felt needed to be done. Like if you do something wrong, you apologize. Like, hey, I messed up. I'm so sorry I lost my temper. Or like I yelled because I was frustrated. I was making dinner and you needed me, that type of thing. But I didn't know that was called repair the attachment. There's like a formal word for it. So my therapist, you repaired the attachment. I'm like, oh, that's what it's called.
I love hearing like about your book and your own personal journey and how much it's healed you. It's truly so beautiful to hear, and you could see it like on your face as you're talking about your story and just like your own like personal life as a mother. And honestly, it's so beautiful and healing. And I think that's what's so beautiful about being a writer. It is so introspective, and it forces you to like face a lot of your own realities, which is really hard. And I'm proud of you for going to therapy. I'm working on it myself, but I'm proud of you guys. I love this for you.
You can do it.
So good. It's so good. I love it. And I heal through you guys. Like every time I listen to like when I'm listening to you, Arlene, and I listen to Melanie, I'm always like, yeah, that's good. That's good. I'm taking notes. Now, I want to hear like a little bit more about Into the Mighty Sea. Like, what is it about exactly?
So Into the Mighty Sea is about a little girl who sees her world through colors, through these pops of colors, and in particular, her family, who's very different from her. So she copes with all of these emotions and colors through art. She loves to draw and paint. And it's about also a sibling relationship. Because, siblings were flowers from the same garden, but we're different flowers. So it's about how you could be in the same family and be completely different from one another. And how I think coping through that, right? Through those different relationships. And her brother does something very, very like little brothers or sisters do. He loses control himself, and it sends her into a mighty psychological sea where she needs to escape. Now, in the story, her dad is very much like her, so she'll escape. Like it's set on her brother's birthday, on her little brother's birthday party, and she's just overwhelmed with all these people coming over into her personal space. And so she'll go to the garden to paint with him. And her dad is very much like her, which is in alignment to my life. We're very much alike. And it's true, I used to escape to our family's garden. When, my mom and my brother are more of the, I have a little brother too. He's not like Santiago, he's a little bit like him, but in the intimacy, but we're very different. He's more social, loves having people. And I love having people too now. I say this, but like I said before, it's the right people,
Yeah.
not just any people. So it's that dynamic and seeing how her family comes together to also help her feel seen and loved, which was big. Carlin Ortiz at Harper really wanted that ending to be about Mariel's like not changing, right? Not changing for her family or not doing something. It's about everyone coming together to help her feel seen, even though it's her little brother's party, which is like something like Latinas, parties, it's all about, well, it's his party, her party, but this kind of book plays a little bit different into that because even though it's her little brother's party, they kind of celebrate her at the end too.
I love it. And I love this book so much. I feel like I'm just manifesting it's going to be viral for a bunch of reasons because the words are art and the illustrations are art. Like together, it's like quite a powerful just piece of art in and of itself, but it's so filled with all the emotion that you are with, and I just feel like it's going to touch a lot of people. It's going to heal a lot of generational trauma or at the very least prevent some of it, like I feel like these kinds of books are so, I mean, I don't have kids, but I wish I had books like this growing up because it would have made me feel like, hey, I'm okay. All those feelings like that boil up in me and like all these feelings that you have as a kid and you don't even know what they are. But like, it's just, you're human, and books like this, I think, make people feel seen, even if they maybe don't have that in their day to day. So, yay. I'm cheering for you so hard. Oh, I love you. It's true. Honestly, it's a really profound piece of work. Honestly, I'm honored to have read it.
Thank you. I think that's the biggest hope that I have is for like little readers to feel, or big too, because picture books are for adults too who are healing their inner child. I mean, that's why I started to read them for my kids.
Yes.
And I feel like if I could heal just one other person or another person help to feel seen, in her story, it would be everything. That's it. That would make it all worth it, all that I've gone through.
Well, you made me feel seen. So
yeah. Well, and I love what you said. Like, it's not just for the little ones because I do like very specifically remember reading books to my kids, as they're growing up and like being so invested in these picture books right alongside them. So it truly is like a generational thing where you're bridging the divide, of parent and child. So it's stunning. And I'm so excited for parents and children to experience it together. I think that's gorgeous. Now, I want to ask our last question because we only have 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Looking back at all you've accomplished, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself before you started this journey?
Oh my gosh, I actually wrote this down because it's a quote so I better hurry up. So I said this all the time to myself, like, I wish I could go back and give. In therapy, I did a lot of work where like EMDR, where I would go back to my childhood and just hug myself because I really needed that. And that was so powerful. So I wrote this quote and I'm going to read it to you guys. There is a vision and strength that you carry, but you can't understand or see it yet. And it's not your job to right now because life will show you when it's time. Your
Mm.
job is to persevere through it all, even when it's so hard you feel you can't go on. I believe in you and can see everything you're about to do right now. So lead with love. For your heart is like an ocean wave, carrying healing energy to other hearts along the way. I'm gonna cry.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You got me. I think that everyone needed to hear that.
Why do I always cry though?
Because it's because you're sharing your real heart, and you've made us well up, and because we're receiving that. And yeah, I think that's it. Isn't that what it is to be human? Otherwise, what the fuck are we all here for? Like, I feel
Yeah.
like this is what I feel like this is surely what it's for, you know, to like feel something. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to be here. It's like a dream come true. So thank you so much.
No, honestly, the honor is ours. We were
Mhm.
so looking forward to having you, and you truly are so magical. So thank you for joining us and just for like spreading your light.
Yeah.
And I really feel like our listeners are going to feel it as well. So I'll thank you. I'll thank you from them. Thank you for making all of us cry. We appreciate
Oh
it.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet.
You know what? And it doesn't come with like, let no one be fooled like how much you've carried to get to this point. Like, you're so bubbly and beautiful and bright. And it's, yeah, I see the behind of that as well. And I just want to acknowledge that for a second too. So
Yeah. Virtual hugs, like
virtual
squeezing you.
I didn't shave my armpits, my bad. I was like, whoa, too much. Sorry, friends.
Baby
We're gonna end
hugs, just
from
little
that.
baby hugs. Just little baby one.